Every day we get closer and closer to the spooky season. We're approaching October, so I thought for the occasion, I would tell a scary story today. Now, I'm gonna be honest, if you're over the age of 6 years old, you probably won't find this story super scary, but you'll probably listen to it and be like, damn, that's kinda creepy, I wouldn't want that to happen to me. So let's jump into this. This story time is about the time me and some friends witnessed a real-life, nighttime stalker. This story time takes place back in 2017, okay? Now, there was this girl I used to go to school with. Let's just call her Alyssa, okay? Now, Alyssa would constantly tell us in school, all the time, that she had this stalker that one time came to her house at nighttime while her parents were asleep and she was awake, and he looked through her window. And, they tried to call the police, and by the time they got there, he was gone. And I guess they've seen him on camera going around the house before, too, while they weren't home. So, yeah, she would always talk about this stalker that she had, and she didn't know if he was trying to get to her, or if he was, trying to rob the house, stake out the house and stuff at nighttime. She had no idea. But nobody in our friend group ever believed her. They were always like, yeah, okay, Alyssa, sure, there's some dude sitting outside your windows at all times. And she'd always argue with them. She'd be like, no, it's not at all times. It happened once while I was awake, and then the rest of the times nobody was home. We're still trying to find this guy. And everyone would always shut her down. They'd be like, Alyssa, stop lying. Why would someone come outside your house at nighttime while you were awake? That's so stupid. They'd get caught. And, no one would believe her. They'd always ask her to bring in security camera footage, on her laptop to school. And, no one would ever believe her. And I'd always tell her, I'm like, I believe you, Alyssa. That's not some unbelievable story. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. And it wasn't some unbelievable story. I've heard many stories from people about them dealing with stalkers. I mean, shit, me personally, I've had to deal with some people that were stalker, many times. So I believed her. So when she used to tell us those stories about her stalker, that was in the beginning of 2016, okay? So a whole year went by and we heard nothing else after that. I guess she called police and they got involved, and since they got involved, she hadn't seen that guy since. She assumed that he, stopped stalking her house and then it was over with. And we never really heard much about it again until 2017. That's when this all takes place, okay? So 2017, at this point, I wasn't in school. I was in and out of school throughout 2015 and 16, but 2017 is when I officially left. And I was doing YouTube full time, and I was actually in LA at this point. I was living there, and I was at my apartment one day, and I get a text from my friend. It was actually a group chat text, and the text said, hey guys, what's up? I'm throwing a huge party in 2 weeks at Alyssa's house. You're all invited. If you're going to be coming through, make sure you text back and tell me so we know who's going to be there and who won't. Have a good night. So I was in LA at the time, so I assumed I wasn't going to be there because, I was across the country. So I just ended up not responding to his text message because I assumed he'd understand, I was across the country, I was living out in LA, it'd be really hard for me to fly home just for one party. But as time went by, I'd say about a week went by, I was thinking about it. And I was in a pretty bad mood. I missed all my friends from my hometown. So I decided that I was going to catch a flight home the day before the party and then surprise everybody there, all my close friends, and I'll visit there for a week and then I'll fly back. So right after I decided on that, I went online, I bought my plane ticket, and fast forward to the day before the party, I flew out of LA, I went back to my hometown and I hung out with my mom and my family, and then fast forward to the next day, it was finally the day of the party. So the party started at about 8, so I got ready at 7, and at 7:30 I had one of my friends come and pick me up. I told him I was home. He came and got me. We went to that party together, and we get there. I surprised everybody. It was super awesome, super fun party for the first 3 hours. And then hour 4 came along, okay? This was pretty much when the party was starting to wind down and people were leaving. And it was pretty much just the close friends that were left. So I think in total it was me and then 9 other people. And since we were at Alyssa's house, we decided to clean up a little bit before we all left. So we're just kind of cleaning, right? We're just listening to music, cleaning up, catching up still, talking. And a lot of my friends want to know what I've been up to in LA, so I was talking to them about that. And we were just all catching up, like I said. And Alyssa was in her room downstairs by herself, cleaning up her room and the basement area. She had a really cool finished basement room, so she was down there by herself. And while we're talking, all of a sudden we hear this loud shrieking scream come from the basement, and it sounded like a girl scream, and it sounded super loud, and the only person in the basement was Alyssa. So we all run to the basement, freaking out, thinking she's hurt or scared of something. So we all run down there, we run into her room, and she is sitting in the corner in a ball, crying her eyes out, and she's freaking out. And me and my friends were like, yo, like, what's up? What happened? What happened? She's like, he's outside. He's here again. He's here again. Now, it had been so long since I heard about her stalker that I didn't even know what she was talking about. And pretty much no one else did either, except one person, our other friend, was like, she's talking about that stalker. Like, he's real. So I asked her, I'm like, was he outside your window? And she's like, yes. So me and all of my friends decided to run upstairs and lock all of the doors, all of the windows, and make sure that everything's secured. And we're looking out all the windows trying to see if we can see this dude. And after looking out every single window, we saw nobody. We could not find anyone. And it was also pitch black nighttime outside. So even if this stalker was like in her yard somewhere, like we could not see at all in the yard. So after we locked all the doors, locked all the windows, shut all the blinds, and made sure this dude wasn't anywhere near the house at this point, Alyssa decided to call the cops. And these two police officers show up, and one of them was actually an officer that was at her house back in 2016 when this first happened. And immediately when the officers got there, Alyssa explained the whole story of what she saw and what happened, and she immediately brought them into this room that she had in her house that her parents set up. It was basically like a surveillance room. They had like 2 monitors, and it was linked to a live feed of all the cameras around their house. They had quite a few security cameras surrounding their house because since the first incident, they wanted to be super safe. Now, I'm in the living room with my friends while they're in there looking at the footage, and all of my friends are all feeling so bad because they never believed her in school, and they never believed her up until this day about how she had a real stalker. And my one friend was like, man, I feel so bad. Like, I used to make jokes about this and not believe her. Like, you were right, Austin. Like, she was telling the truth. And I was just like, whatever. Like, the important thing is we all know now what the truth is. So after we talk for a bit, I hear Alyssa say, Austin, can you come in here? And that confused me because I don't know what they would want with me. Like, they were in there looking at security camera footage. And I walk in there, and she's like, hey, can you grab me and the officers some water? And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. So I go out into the kitchen, I grab them 2 bottles of water, and I start heading back towards the security room. And I walk in, and as I'm handing them their waters, I take a peek at the monitor where the security cameras were, and they had the one pulled up that was right outside the window where the basement was. And there's this dude standing in the yard, like kind of away from the window, but close enough to see him. And he's wearing like all black. He has a black hood completely covering his face. And he's just standing there like a creep. And I was just so shocked, and it honestly freaked me out so much, because it's one thing to hear stories and like hear about something happening, but to see it on a security camera, like see an image of like this creepy stalker standing there outside this window, and to think about what she must have witnessed, like to be there firsthand, I don't know, it just freaked me out. So after that, I went back into the living room and I was just talking with my friends, and we had to sit there for basically a whole hour and wait for her parents to drive back from where they were. Her parents were out on some like anniversary, like weekend getaway thing, so they had to drive all the way back. It took like an hour, hour and a half, and they got home, and the whole time the police basically sat outside and just waited to see if that guy came back. And he didn't. But anyway, the parents got home, they talked to the police, they talked to Alyssa, they even got our perspective of the story. And yeah, we ended up going home an hour later because, they didn't want us there anymore because, it was a family matter. And also it was just, a lot for them. So that was totally understandable. And pretty much the whole week after that, everything was pretty chill. I didn't hear much else about anything happening at her house. You're probably wondering, like, Austin, did the stalker come back? Like, what happened? Well, luckily, no. The stalker did not come back to her house. I'm guessing because he probably knew there were police involved again, and that's what made him go away the first time. And another really good thing is Alyssa's dad got a really good job, like a new job. So they ended up moving like 6 months later into a new house, a way nicer house, far away from their old one. And they haven't seen the stalker since, so that's good. And they even told the new homeowners of their old house about the stalker situation and gave them a discount on the house because of that. So yeah, in the end, everybody was okay. I'm pretty sure that stalker has not come to the old house or the new house at all, so that's good. Alyssa was good. Everybody was okay. Sadly, the stalker did not get caught, but hopefully one day they do. And yeah, that's pretty much the end of the story time. I thought this was a pretty crazy and just creepy one. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys all later. Peace.